Okay, so we're diving into Leather Goods Patternmaker interviews today.
And we've got some great resources from RoleCatcher to help you prep.
They really go beyond just the basics.
Yeah, what's really cool is that their AI actually digs into specific job descriptions.
So it's tailored advice, not just generic tips.
Exactly.
Think of this deep dive as your secret weapon.
Giving you the inside scoop on what hiring managers are really looking for.
And how to use RoleCatcher's AI to your advantage.
Like having a personalized roadmap for nailing that interview.
Absolutely. So first things first.
What exactly is a leather goods pattern maker?
Right, because it's more than just cutting out shapes.
Oh yeah, you're basically designing the blueprints for anything leather you can imagine.
Bags, belts, wallets, the whole shebang.
You're using hand tools machines, figuring out the best layout to minimize waste.
And making sure you have enough leather for each project.
It's a lot more involved than people might think.
Definitely sounds detail-oriented.
It is, for sure.
So what are the pros and cons someone should consider before jumping into this field?
Well, on the plus side, it's incredibly creative.
And hands-on.
You're working with gorgeous leather, seeing your designs come to life.
That's got to be so rewarding.
It really is, and there's potential to move up in a company.
Or even start your own business.
Exactly. So lots of possibilities.
Okay, so what about the downsides?
Well, it can be pretty competitive to find work,
And the hours can be long.
especially when you're up against tight deadlines.
And it is physically demanding being on your feet working with heavy materials.
Yeah, and your income might not be super steady right out of the gate.
Good points to consider. All right, so where do leather goods pattern makers typically work?
Usually in workshops for factories.
And what's the day-to-day like?
You're going to be on your feet a lot, handling those heavy materials.
Interacting with clients, suppliers, other team members.
It's a pretty collaborative environment.
Okay, so now that we've got a good understanding of the role,
Let's dive into those interview questions.
because that's where it gets real.
RoleCatcher's interview guide has 10 common questions to help us practice.
And remember, their AI can actually analyze job descriptions.
To help you tailor your resume and even your interview answers.
So you're highlighting the exact skills they're looking for.
It's like having an expert in your corner, making sure you're putting your best foot forward.
Okay, question number 1.
Can you explain your experience creating patterns for leather goods?
Seems pretty straightforward, but what are they really getting at here?
They want to see what you've actually done.
Like the depth and breadth of your experience.
Exactly what kinds of leather goods have you worked on?
Different types of leather-specific techniques.
This is your chance to showcase your skills and your passion.
So how should you approach this?
Definitely don't just list every project you've ever worked on.
Right, tailor it to the specific job.
And always, always, always have specific examples ready to share.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's say you're applying for a job making handbags.
Okay,
You could talk about a time you designed a particularly complex handbag pattern.
like one with intricate stitching or unusual hardware.
Exactly. Walk them through your process, how you approached the design,
The challenges you faced.
and how you ultimately created a successful product.
It's about showing them you can think on your feet and solve problems.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are some pitfalls to avoid with this question?
Don't be too general.
Like just saying, I've made lots of patterns,
Right. Give them concrete examples.
and definitely avoid being negative about past experiences.
Even if a project was challenging, frame it as a learning opportunity.
I love that turn those challenges into triumphs.
Exactly.
Okay, now for a sample response to get our listeners started.
You could say something like, in my previous role at X company, I was responsible for designing and creating patterns for a wide range of leather handbags, from simple totes to more intricate evening bags. I'm proficient in using both hand tools and computer-aided design software, and I'm always eager to learn new techniques, for example, in one project I was tasked with. And then you would launch into that specific story we talked about.
Perfect. That sets the stage and shows you can handle the job.
Okay, ready for question number 2.
Hit me with it.
Can you describe a time you had to troubleshoot a pattern that wasn't working out?
Ooh, this is where it gets interesting.
This question is all about your problem-solving skills.
How you handle those inevitable hiccups.
Exactly. They want to see you think critically and find solutions when things go wrong.
Because, let's be real, things will go wrong.
In any creative field, for sure.
So how should you answer this?
Choose a situation where you identified the problem, analyzed it,
And came up with a solution that saved the day.
like a pattern-making superhero.
Exactly.
Be specific about the steps you took. Did you consult with colleagues?
Research different techniques, maybe experiment with materials.
Show them you're resourceful and can think on your feet.
Okay, so common traps to avoid.
Don't downplay your role in the problem.
Take ownership.
It shows maturity and accountability.
And don't just describe the problem.
Focus on the solution and the positive outcome.
And definitely avoid blaming others.
Right. It's not a good look.
All right, how about a sample response for this one?
You could say something like this. I once had a situation where a pattern for a leather wallet wasn't aligning properly after careful examination. I realized the issue stemmed from an inaccurate measurement in the initial design phase. To rectify this, I remeasured the critical points, adjusted the pattern accordingly, and tested it on a scrap piece of leather. The adjustments proved successful, ensuring the final wallet met the desired quality and specifications.
Perfect. That shows you can identify a problem, take action, and get a positive result.
Ready for question 3?
Bring it on.
How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and innovations in the leather goods industry?
Okay, so this one's about showing you're passionate and engaged.
They want to see that you're genuinely interested in learning and growing.
Not just punching the clock.
Exactly.
So what's the best approach here?
Be specific, mention industry publications, you read blogs, you follow conferences you attend.
Maybe you take online courses or follow influential leather workers on social media.
Whatever it is, show them you're actively engaging with the industry.
And this ties back to RoleCatcher's AI, right?
Absolutely.
They have resources to help you find those publications, connect with those industry leaders.
And they even have a tool that suggests relevant professional development opportunities based on your profile.
It's like having a personalized guide to staying ahead of the curve.
Okay, any pitfalls to avoid with this question?
Don't just, I read magazines.
Yeah, name those magazines.
And definitely avoid saying you don't have time to stay updated.
Make it a priority, even if it's just 15 minutes a day.
Right. Carve out that time for professional development.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear a sample response.
You could say, I make a conscious effort to stay abreast of the latest trends and innovations in leatherworking. I subscribe to industry publications like Leather Craftsman and Shoemaking International, and I frequently attend workshops and conferences like the recent Leatherworking Expo in New York. I also find inspiration by following the work of renowned designers like it. And then you would name some specific designers.
That response really shows you're plugged into the industry.
Okay, on to question 4.
Lay it on me.
How do you ensure that your patterns are precise and accurate?
Attention to detail is key here, right?
Absolutely, leatherwork demands precision.
And they want to see that you understand that.
Every cut, every measurement, every stitch has to be accurate.
So how do you convey that in your answer?
Talk about your process. Do you have a system for double-checking measurements?
Do you use specific tools or techniques to ensure accuracy?
Maybe you have a ritual for laying out your patterns and marking your leather.
Whatever your methods are, explain them clearly and confidently.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can help you here too.
Right, by analyzing your work history and identifying areas where you excel in precision and detail.
It helps you articulate those strengths.
Okay, common mistakes to avoid.
Don't say you just eyeball it.
Uh-huh. That's a surefire way to raise red flags.
And avoid bragging about never making mistakes.
Everyone makes mistakes.
It's how you learn and grow.
Exactly. Own your mistakes, learn from them, and move on.
Okay, now for a sample response.
Here's one. I'm a firm believer in the adage, measure twice, cut once, to ensure the precision of my patterns. I always double-check my measurements using a high-quality ruler and a digital caliper. I meticulously mark my leather using an awl and a straight edge, and I always test my patterns on scrap material before cutting into the final piece. I'm also constantly refining my techniques and seeking out new tools and technologies that can enhance accuracy.
That response really highlights that dedication to precision.
All right, question 5 coming your way.
I'm ready.
Can you explain your experience in creating patterns for different types of leather?
Okay, so this one's about versatility, right?
Exactly. Different leathers have different properties,
They require specific handling and techniques.
and they want to see that you can adapt your approach accordingly.
So someone who's only worked with, say, cowhide might be at a disadvantage.
Not necessarily, as long as they can show a willingness to learn and adapt.
If you have limited experience with certain leathers, be upfront about it. But emphasize your eagerness to expand your skill set.
Honesty and a thirst for knowledge go a long way.
Absolutely.
Okay. How should you approach this question?
Highlight the types of leather you're most familiar with and give specific examples of projects.
And if you've overcome challenges related to a specific type of leather, share that story.
It showcases your problem-solving skills.
And this ties back to RoleCatcher's career guide, right?
Yeah, they outline the typical career path and emphasize continuous learning.
So use that to your advantage.
Show them you're committed to growth and ready for the challenges.
All right, let's hear A sample response.
Here's one. I've had the opportunity to work with a variety of leathers, including full-grain cowhide, supple lambskin, and even exotic skins like ostrich and snakeskin. I understand that each type of leather has unique characteristics that require specific handling and techniques, for example, when working with delicate lambskin eye. And then you would detail the adjustments you made, maybe using a lighter touch or finer tools.
Okay, that shows you're not a one-trick pony.
You can handle a variety of materials.
All right, on to question 6.
Can you describe your experience with 3D modeling software for pattern making?
This one's a bit more technical. What are they really asking?
They're checking your comfort level with technology.
Specifically 3D modeling, which is becoming more common in pattern making.
Even if it's not a primary requirement for the role, having some experience shows you're adaptable.
So even if I'm not a 3D modeling whiz, I should still try to demonstrate some familiarity.
Absolutely, even basic knowledge shows you're forward thinking.
And RoleCatcher can guide you on which software is most commonly used.
Exactly, so you can focus your learning efforts.
Okay, any pitfalls to avoid with this question?
Don't exaggerate your skills.
If you're a beginner, be honest about it.
But express enthusiasm for learning more.
And avoid saying things like, I'm old school, or I prefer to do things by hand.
That makes you sound resistant to change.
Got it. Embrace the tech. All right,
Yeah.
Let's hear that sample response.
Here you go. While I'm most experienced with traditional pattern-making techniques, I've been exploring 3D modeling software like Rhino and Clo 3D. I've taken a few introductory courses, and I'm impressed with the potential of these tools to enhance accuracy, streamline workflow, and visualize designs in a more dynamic way. I'm eager to continue developing my skills in this area.
That shows you're open to new ways of working.
Exactly.
Okay, question 7. What have you got?
Can you explain your experience in creating patterns for bespoke leather goods?
Bespoke? That sounds fancy.
It means custom made.
Ah, so they're looking for your ability to handle unique requests.
Exactly. Bespoke leather goods are all about creating one-of-a-kind pieces tailored to the client.
This requires not just technical skill, but creativity, problem-solving, excellent communication.
You need to be able to translate a client's vision into a tangible product.
Often working with unusual materials, shapes, and embellishments
That's where a strong portfolio comes in handy.
to showcase those custom creations.
And RoleCatcher's Career Guide offers tips on building a compelling portfolio.
Highlighting your most innovative and unique work.
And their AI can actually analyze your portfolio and suggest improvements.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, any common mistakes to avoid with this question?
Don't dismiss bespoke work as too fussy or not worth the effort.
It's a valuable skill set even if you don't specialize in custom orders.
And avoid claiming expertise you don't have.
Be honest about your experience, but emphasize your willingness to learn. Authenticity and a can-do attitude are key. All right, let's hear that sample response.
Here you go. While I've primarily focused on creating patterns for production runs, I've also had the pleasure of working on several bespoke leather goods projects. I enjoy the challenge of translating a client's vision into a unique and functional piece. For example, I once created a pattern for a gris. And then you would describe a specific custom project highlighting the challenges and triumphs involved.
That's a great way to show you can handle those one-of-a-kind requests.
Okay, on to question 8.
All right, what is it?
Can you explain your experience in working with other departments, such as design or production?
Okay, so this one's about teamwork.
Leather goods pattern making rarely happens in isolation.
You'll be interacting with designers, production teams, clients, suppliers.
They want to see that you can collaborate effectively and communicate clearly.
So it's about being a team player, not a lone wolf.
Exactly.
How do you effectively convey that in your answer?
Share specific examples of successful collaborations.
Did you work closely with a designer to refine a pattern?
Did you effectively communicate technical specifications to a production team?
Did you resolve a conflict or miscommunication in a positive way?
These are all stories that showcase your ability to work well with others.
And this ties back to RoleCatcher's AI again.
Right? They have tools to help you analyze your work history and identify those instances of successful collaboration.
So you can articulate those experiences and highlight your value as a team player.
Exactly.
Okay, any common pitfalls to avoid?
Don't badmouth former colleagues or teams.
Even if you had challenging experiences, focus on the lessons learned.
And avoid portraying yourself as a know-it-all.
Humility and a collaborative spirit go a long way.
Absolutely.
All right, let's hear a sample response.
Here's one. In my previous role, I had the opportunity to collaborate closely with the design team to ensure patterns were both aesthetically pleasing and technically feasible, for instance, when working on a new handbag line eye. And then you would detail a specific instance of collaboration, highlighting your communication skills and your ability to achieve a shared goal.
That shows you can contribute to a successful team effort.
Okay, ready for question 9?
Shoot.
How do you manage your workload and prioritize tasks?
This is about organization and time management, right?
Absolutely. Leather goods pattern making often involves juggling multiple projects.
With varying deadlines and complexities.
They want to see that you can handle the pressure and stay organized.
So it's not just about being a skilled pattern maker, but also a savvy project manager.
Exactly.
And RoleCatcher's AI can help here, too.
They have resources on time management techniques and tools.
And their AI can even analyze your past projects and identify areas where you might improve.
Okay. Any common mistakes to avoid with this one?
Don't say you just wing it or that you thrive under chaos.
While some flexibility is necessary, interviewers want to see that you have systems in place.
And avoid admitting that you struggle with procrastination or disorganization.
Focus on your strengths and positive strategies.
All right, let's hear that sample response.
Here you go. To effectively manage my workload, I use a combination of digital tools and traditional methods. I prioritize tasks based on deadlines and urgency, and I break down larger projects into smaller, more manageable steps. I use a project management app to track deadlines and progress, and I rely on a detailed to-do list to stay organized. I also schedule regular check-ins with my team to ensure everyone is on the same page.
That demonstrates a proactive approach to organization.
And the ability to manage multiple tasks effectively.
Okay, last question for this part of the deep dive.
Question 10. Can you describe your experience in leading a team of pattern makers?
This one might not be relevant for every applicant, but it's good to be prepared.
They're assessing your leadership potential.
Even if you haven't had a formal management position, they want to see that you have those skills.
It could involve mentoring junior colleagues, leading a project team, or just taking initiative.
So even if I'm not applying for a management role, it's still valuable to highlight those leadership experiences.
Absolutely. Leadership skills are transferable.
And RoleCatcher's career guide emphasizes that leadership opportunities often come up as you progress in your career.
So highlighting those skills shows you're thinking about the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, any common mistakes to avoid with this one?
Don't boast about your leadership skills or claim authority you haven't earned.
Humility and a collaborative spirit are essential.
And avoid stories where you micromanaged others or took credit for their work.
Focus on instances where you inspired, motivated, and empowered your team.
You can even use RoleCatcher's AI to analyze your past experiences and identify those moments.
Right. It's about fostering a positive team environment. All right, let's hear that sample response.
While I haven't held a formal management position, I've had the opportunity to mentor junior colleagues and lead project teams. I believe in a collaborative and supportive leadership style, where I encourage open communication delegate tasks effectively and provide constructive feedback, for example, when I was tasked with. And then you would share a specific story where you demonstrated leadership qualities, highlighting the positive impact you had on your team.
That's a great way to wrap up this section of questions.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI tools can help you craft those winning answers.
They can analyze your work history, identify your strengths, and help you tailor your responses to the specific role.
So use those resources to your advantage.
Okay, let's take a quick break and come back for part 2, where we'll explore the typical career path for a leather goods pattern maker.
We'll dive into those 4 stages, entry-level, junior, senior, and the prestigious master level. Plus, we'll share some extra tips from RoleCatcher's career guide to help you not only land the job, but thrive in your career. Don't go anywhere.
All right, so we just tackled those 10 interview questions.
Hopefully you're feeling more prepared.
But what happens after you nail that interview?
And land the job.
RoleCatcher actually outlines a typical career path for leather goods pattern makers.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They break it down into 4 levels.
Entry-level, junior, senior, and then master.
Each one comes with more responsibility and usually a bigger paycheck.
So let's walk through those stages, starting with entry-level.
Yeah.
What can someone just starting out expect?
At this level, you're mainly assisting more experienced pattern makers.
Kind of like an apprenticeship.
Exactly. You're learning the ropes, mastering basic techniques.
Getting familiar with different types of leather and tools.
It's all about building that solid foundation.
So what are some key skills to focus on developing at this level?
Precision is super important. You'll be doing a lot of measuring, cutting, stitching.
So accuracy is key.
Definitely. And pay close attention to how those experienced pattern makers select and handle different types of leather.
Because each leather has its own unique properties.
Right. Understanding those nuances is essential.
Okay, so how about the junior stage? How do you know when you're ready to level up?
You'll start taking on more responsibility designing and cutting patterns independently.
So more independence.
And you'll be collaborating more closely with other teams like designers and production staff,
More teamwork.
and maybe even mentoring newer pattern makers.
So you get to share your knowledge.
It's a great stage to be in.
What should someone focus on to excel at this level and prepare for that next step?
Problem solving becomes really important here.
Because you're going to encounter challenges.
Patterns that don't quite work, design changes, material limitations.
You've got to be able to think on your feet
Exactly, and hone those communication skills.
because you'll be interacting more with clients, suppliers, and colleagues.
Clear and concise communication is essential.
Okay, so what about the senior leather goods pattern maker stage? What does that look like?
This is where you really step into a leadership role,
Maybe leading a team of pattern makers,
overseeing projects from start to finish.
contributing to the overall design and production process.
You're not just making patterns anymore. You're shaping the direction of the company's leather goods.
That's pretty cool. What kind of leadership skills are important at this level?
You need to be able to inspire and motivate your team.
Delegate tasks, effectively provide constructive feedback.
Strong communication is crucial, as is the ability to manage conflict and create a positive team environment.
And of course, you need to be super organized.
Able to manage multiple projects at the same time.
Don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can help you identify areas where you might need to develop those leadership skills.
Absolutely. It's a great resource.
Now, the final stage, Master Leather Goods Patternmaker. This sounds pretty epic.
It really is. It's the pinnacle of the career path.
You've mastered your craft. You're a respected leader,
And you're likely sought after for your expertise.
maybe overseeing all aspects of pattern making, developing new techniques.
Even consulting for other companies.
So it's not just about skill at this point. It's about vision, innovation, a deep understanding of the industry. What advice would you give to someone who wants to reach that master level?
Never stop learning.
Because the industry is constantly evolving.
Stay curious. Explore new techniques, materials, technologies.
Build a strong network of mentors, colleagues, industry leaders.
And most importantly, find your niche.
That's special, something that sets you apart.
It could be a certain type of leather, good, unique technique, a focus on sustainability,
That kind of focus makes you stand out.
and it brings a level of artistry and dedication that people notice.
Okay, so let's circle back to those interview questions for a minute.
We covered a lot of ground, but I want to emphasize how helpful RoleCatcher's AI tools can be.
They go beyond just analyzing job descriptions.
They can help you structure your responses, identify weaknesses, even give you feedback on your delivery.
So it's personalized guidance.
Yeah, it's like having a career coach in your pocket.
What's a good example of how their AI might help with a specific question?
Let's say you're asked about staying up to date with industry trends. RoleCatcher's AI could suggest relevant publications conferences or even designers to mention.
That's awesome. It takes the guesswork out of tailoring your answers.
Makes it so much easier.
Now, aside from those 10 common questions, are there any other tips from RoleCatcher's career guide that can help someone prepare for a Leather Goods Patternmaker interview?
They really emphasize the importance of showcasing your work in a portfolio.
Your portfolio is like a visual resume.
Exactly. Make sure it's well organized, visually appealing, and tailored to the job you're applying for.
And they also recommend researching the company beforehand.
It shows you're genuinely interested and gives you talking points.
Right. It demonstrates that you're not just looking for any job, you're looking for this job.
And don't forget to practice your answers out loud.
It might feel silly, but it helps with confidence and clarity.
RoleCatcher even has a tool where you can practice answering questions and get AI-powered feedback.
That's amazing. It's like a mock interview with a virtual coach.
And lastly, always send a thank you note after the interview.
It's a simple gesture that can make a big difference.
Shows your appreciation and keeps you top of mind.
All right, welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into the world of leather goods pattern making.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Prepping for those tough interview questions, exploring the career path.
And even tapping into the power of AI with RoleCatcher.
So what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
As you go for this job and as you build your career, find what truly excites you within leatherworking.
I love that it's about finding your passion.
Exactly. Could you specialize in a certain type of leather good?
Or master a unique technique.
Maybe you're drawn to sustainable practices or using cutting-edge technology.
That kind of focus not only makes you a better pattern maker,
but it makes you stand out.
It brings a level of artistry and dedication that people will notice.
For sure.
So to all our aspiring leather goods pattern makers out there,
You've got the skills, the knowledge, and the resources to make it happen.
find your passion, rock that interview.
And maybe one day we'll be doing a deep dive into your successful career.
That's a wrap on this deep dive.
Until next time, happy crafting.